All right, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball. Week 7 recap is finally here. Christian, your camera is obviously, once again, we're always gonna have that issue here and there. But I mean, regardless, let's get this started. Had a pretty good Thursday night game. Got a disagreement to get into in there. Let's just get into it, Christian.
Yeah, let's open it with Thursday night with the Broncos and the Saints. And let's just say Bo Nix, sure, he didn't have, the big game that he had on the past game. He only going for 16 versus 26, 164 yards. But this is a really big advantage on the run game. I know we had the we talked before that Denver not having a solidified running back. But Javonte Williams, he did go off for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. So this run game was really getting going for the Denver Broncos. Same with Bo Nix still accumulating 75 yards on the ground there. So sure, like I said, the pass game wasn't there, but the run game is what really got the Broncos acquainted here against the Saints team here. And on the receiving end here, you mentioned before Troy Franklin, he had a pretty game for himself for 50 yards here. So really, this is pretty much a whole defensive battle for the Broncos. The defense is really getting on their toes here against this struggling Saints team, especially with their offense with a lot of key pieces out here. And like I said, the run game here for the Saints, Spencer Rattler didn't look too well here. We can't blame with Rashid missing for the season, Olave out with this game here, so he didn't really have a lot to work with. The run game was also really horrible. I know I said Alvin Kamara's offense is gonna be run by him, but he only accumulated for 10 yards on the ground, so that really didn't do nothing there as well. So this Saints team started from 2-0, started from 2-5 here. A lot of injuries to blame there, and for the Broncos, 4-3 above 500 for the first time since 2016, I believe so. So really nice, good to see for these Broncos.
Yeah, obviously a great start for them. The schedule looks pretty good for them moving forward, so we could definitely see them, be ahead of schedule. That's something we've been talking about in the last couple of weeks. But we'll move it into Sunday, into our final London game. And Christian, I don't know what the people in London did to get a game like this with the two worst teams in football, but hey, they get their Jaguars taking on the Patriots. And look, a win's a win, it was a great win, sure, but you also got to take into account the opponent that they were playing. But great win for the Jaguars. Overall, I don't really know what too much to say. Sure, Trevor Lawrence, we saw him finally getting into a better groove. Like I said, consider the defense that they were playing. But the biggest key point for them that I want to say, Brian Thomas Jr., he continues to have that meteoric rise and arguably looking like the best receiver as of the last couple of weeks of this rookie class. Definitely looking like a good move, a good pickup, obviously, and that they traded back. So they got obviously picks to add on top of that, and to still get such a star receiver like him, looking like a good move as of now. And look, on the Patriots side, not really much you can say. Obviously, the great side we're obviously going to look at. Drake May is looking decent. A point that you always make, how he once again led the team in rushing, which is it's a testament of all the struggles of this team. But overall, he looks like the bright spot. Everyone else, the O-line's chopped. The receiving core looks terrible. Obviously we see Jalen Polk going on his own little tirades. He's kind of looking like a bust. I don't want to just say it like that, but not looking too good for the Patriots as of right now.
Yeah, I know I said it's going to take a little bit of time for Drake to develop here, but with the team around him, it might take a little bit longer there. And now moving on with the Titans and the Bills here. And this was a pretty slow game for the Bills, specifically in the first half. Nothing was really getting going on with Josh Allen and this run game. I know Ray Davis came off a career game last week on the ground good with James Cook. So both of them, they returned. They did accumulate for a touchdown each, so that's still a really great spot to see. But it was really slow. I wouldn't say this was like a huge turning point for the Titans in the first half, but they were up 10-7 at a 3-point lead coming into half. So not really a big deal there. But this was really the Titans' half. And like I said, with Josh Allen, he gets slow sometimes in the first half. The offense not really there. Sean McDermott with this play calling could be a little iffy. His time management, we've seen it a couple times this season. But the second half, this was just all Bills. They're really stopping the Titans on both sides of the ball here on offense and defense. Josh Allen going for 323 and 2 touchdowns. So that really accumulated a really big hope there. And then Keon Coleman, the rookie, I still, really got to show him my guy some love. 4 catches for 125 yards so far, his best game of his career so far there. So the pass game was really helping this Bills going on, especially with the, and Amari Cooper coming back, 4 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. So that is really nice to see that they're finally getting adjusted in a nice, really good schematically set offense for this Bills team here. They're 5-2. Sure, play the Titans there, but against the Titans that did have an advantage on them in the first half there, they're going to regroup and coming into the next week there. So once again, Josh Allen, So I kind of want to see Josh Allen step away from these slow starts. I want us to be on his heels coming move forward here because especially against the Titans starting slow, you might want to open some eyes about this on how the Bills are going to do later in the season there. But for me, I got no problem with this.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this Bills team, I mean, definitely can see the growing pains with getting Amari Cooper. Obviously, he was asking Keon Coleman, what the play was when Josh Allen gave a wanted to switch up the play, and he caught the touchdown after needing to switch it up. So, I mean, hey, pretty nice. The growing pains aren't really hurting too much for them. But we'll move it into the Seahawks and the Falcons. And, I mean, this game, definitely come to a shocker me. I know it probably did to you. I mean, seeing the Seahawks these two teams, obviously on opposite ends, Seahawks coming off a 3-game losing streak, and the Falcons seemed like one of the hottest teams in football. I mean, as of the last couple of weeks, I've been really talking about, looks like Kirk's really starting to mesh well with his teammates. And I mean, definitely didn't really see any of that in this one. I mean, sure, those 2 interceptions for Kirk definitely obviously were a big part of, the struggles throughout this game. I mean, the bright spot for the Falcons was, Bijan Robinson, obviously, cracking over 100 yards, getting a touchdown, but in the end, wasn't really much, to end up on the scoreline. For the Seahawks, I mean, Geno Smith, definitely a great game for him, 2 touchdowns, over 200 yards, just overall a pretty efficient showing for him. Definitely, he needed that after the last couple weeks. Really, we see all those struggles that he had, and bigger for me. I mean, Kenneth Walker getting a receiving touchdown, which fact check me on this. I don't know if it was his first in his career or just in the first in a long time, but getting a reception for a touchdown, really expanding the game. Which I mean, they've been using him in the receiving game the last couple of weeks, as we've both been talking about. So, hey, great for him. And just obviously, last thing, DK Metcalf went down with that injury. He's going to be week to week as of right now. So, obviously, something to really keep an eye on for the Seahawks moving forward and see, what someone else in this receiver core is going to have to step up.
Yeah, it was a really surprising game for the Seahawks. I mean, like, they were 3-0, 3-3. They really got to make a bounce back here and really make a statement against this very high-powered, on fire Falcons team here. So it's really a good sign to see for Geno Smith and this very young defense. And now moving on with the Bengals and the Browns here. And honestly, this was just a pretty slow and boring game that pretty much solidified a Bengals win here. But this is pretty much the whole story with it is the Browns, and it's Deshaun Watson going down with, I believe it was the ankle injury, so he's going to be missing out the entire season of the
ruptured Achilles.
Yeah, there you go. The Achilles here. Yeah, the Achilles tendon injury. So he will miss the season there. And, you can hate the guy all you want, but those boos, it was just unacceptable. You don't boo an injured player like that. Sure, you can hate the guy that Deshaun is, whatever it is, but seeing the Brown fans just boo him, that's unacceptable. We already saw J-Bo or whatever he had to say in the post game. Excuse me, and he's got his back, and it's really nice to see. Speaking of J-Bo here in the quarterback situation, there it's gonna be a game time decision whether or not DTR or J-Bo is gonna start moving forward for the Browns moving forward now. So it's really it's gonna be a time to see whether I would love to see Jameis start and hopefully make a run with this Brown, not make a run, but obviously bring some life for this Browns team there. But for the Bengals, it was obviously a slow start, but it's nice to see Burrows finally getting on his heels once again there, and the connection to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, that duel finally making the life here, and Chase Brown in the run game still a little bit better there. The 3-4, they're making a comeback. Hopefully this comeback still stays intact and it's not gonna be one of those little flukes where they start going on a losing streak again.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, just about the Browns, obviously, everything you said sums it up perfectly. But for Jameis, that's something that I said, in the last couple of weeks when people were calling for Deshaun to get benched. I mean, Jameis is definitely going to be someone that could breathe new life. Season's probably over, obviously, but breathe some new life into this locker room, breathe just new life into this offense overall. And I'd love to see him get some action. Which obviously, seeing how DTR did last season, you probably have a better chance with J-Mo. But moving into one of the more exciting games this week, the Texans and the Packers. Obviously, quarterback play was a little slim. Obviously, Jordan Love and CJ, didn't have those, phenomenal games we're kind of starting to get used to as this season started. But I mean, just overall, something that we kind of talked about with Carbs yesterday, that, he's kind of just looking like a gunslinger, Jordan Love specifically. And I mean, he's taking too many risks overall, which is something that, we've kind of known him for. He kind of would like to see him eliminate that little by little from his game. But look, the 2 interceptions, they did hurt down the line, but the 3 touchdowns that he did get obviously were, crucial in, pulling this win out. And obviously, down the stretch, finally getting a kicker that can, clutch up for them. Brandon McManus, we know all the situations that he's had leading up to this season. we can leave all the details of that side, but regardless, nice to see him getting back in the swing of it. And, for the Texans, overall, like I said, rough showing for Stroud. They did kind of start finding it late in the fourth quarter, obviously, taking that lead. But like I said, the Packers obviously finding a way to just get it done.
Yeah, this Packers team is finally looking like a scary team moving into the NFC here. Obviously with CJ Stroud, like I said, he's going to bounce back here and there, but it's going to take him time to finally get adjusted from these beatdowns. And now moving on to probably another boring matchup here with Dolphins and the Colts here. And this was just pretty much mid-quarterback play. I mean, Tyler Huntley coming in here. That Anthony Richardson was really struggling in the pass game there. I mean, his O-line was holding him out for the most part. I mean, allowing 0 sacks here, but he just really wasn't getting in. He still has a lot of raw talent. He just needs to develop a little bit here and there, obviously missing his majority of his rookie year. I'm still rooting for Aaron Rich, a little bit of development here and there, and he's going to be, possibly, a top 12 quarterback in the league in a couple years from now here. But this was pretty much just rush attack and defense. I mean, it was nice to see Achane on the Miami side finally getting going after having some rough starts here on that offense. Then Anthony Richardson, he ended up being the leader, rush attack with 56 yards, but Tyler Goodson solidifying the touchdown to kind of get the lead here. And once again, turnovers, the defensive battle is really going there. Is really towards the end where the Colts really found the rhythm there, and the Tyler Huntley going down in the second half, which had to bring Tim Boyle out here. It looked like they were driving in the final drive to potentially take the lead, with the fourth down. I think Tim Boyle had a miscommunication. He didn't know it was fourth down and pretty much just chucked it out of bounds there. So that pretty much sold the play there. I don't think the Dolphins would have won even with that drive there for the way the Colts defense was playing, how well they were playing this whole game. But it was a pretty boring matchup there. But at least the Colts are 4-3, and looking at this AFC South, I wouldn't say it's too wide open, but a couple games behind, pretty much about going to be between them and the Texans there, looking at both their records.
Yeah, definitely keeping it close. Aaron Rich, not the best game for him, obviously, but getting it done against a hampered opponent. Definitely like to see a little more separation against a game like this, but definitely to get it done, win's a win and at the end and keeping the pace. But I wouldn't say, arguably one of the games of the week with the Lions and the Vikings. Obviously, we talked this game up so much leading into this, and I think it's pretty clear. The Lions are proving that they still are the top dogs in the NFC North. I mean, Jared Goff, definitely slowly building a pretty legitimate MVP case. Just obviously overall, just something that from the start of the season, I kind of thought the league was going to start catching up. Same with stuff from offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. I thought those schemes were going to get caught up on little by little. Clearly not the case. Something I'm going to have to eat my words on here. The Lions still looking like a juggernaut. And I mean, just overall, when I look at the concerns that I think we would talk about a little before with the depth at wide receiver that the Lions we kind of considered, definitely something else that we can throw out the window. We see guys like Tim Patrick and Khalif Raymond really picking up the load, obviously with Jameson Williams, who didn't really have any much of a factor, and now obviously he's going to be out for 2 games with that suspension for the PES, getting popped for that. And I mean, obviously great to see Amon-Ra really picking it up. We kind of wanted to see a little more from him as of late, but doing what he can here. And look, on the Viking side of the ball, this is just one of those things that I've been telling the lack of star power, I guess, in a way, starting to show up little by little. I mean, at least offensively, Sam Darnold maybe starting to come back down to earth, because on the defensive side of the ball, that Brian Flores defense still looks stellar. Obviously, was the reason that the Vikings almost came back from that 11-point deficit. Obviously, definitely expect Brian Flores to pick up a head coach good job moving forward, but I mean, can't say that this is a loss that the Vikings should hold their head on. I mean, they played their way back in it, and they're still going to be a scary team moving forward.
No, yeah, I feel Ben Johnson, his play calling, he's definitely solidifying himself for head coach position for next season. There, his offense, it's really looking scary for this Lions team. That this is definitely the team to beat in the NFC. And now moving in with another now moving in with an NFC East battle here with the Eagles and the Giants. And once again, it's another game where it was pretty bad quarterback play. I mean, Jalen Hurts 10 for 14, 114 yards, but can't really say it's bad when majority of the time this was Saquon Barkley's game. This was his revenge game, you could say, even though he said it's not a revenge game, blah blah, blah, this and that. We know damn well it was 17 carries, 176 yards, 1 touchdown. So obviously, sure, it was bad quarterback play looking at Jalen Hurts just from the box score, but took a little bit of pressure because of the rush attack. I'm still not gonna let that slide though, because his O-line did sell him just a little bit, allowing 4 sacks here and there. He had 2 rushing touchdowns right there and there. But once again, I'm gonna keep bringing this up. Sure, Saquon, he's picking up the load. Once Saquon gets going, it pretty much lowers the stress off Jalen Hurts. But the games where Saquon, he's getting shut out, and Jalen Hurts is having, games like this, it's gonna be a matter of time until Philly they finally start seeing the trueness once again, like we saw last season. There, sure, you can call me hating, but I'm just looking at the realistic standpoint at this here. Jalen Hurts, he's still gonna have to pick up just a little bit more for the times that Saquon Barkley's not able to pick up for this offense here. Now looking at the Giants side, it's the same thing. Daniel Jones didn't even crack 100 pass yards, but again, his O-line with Andrew Thomas missing the season with that horrible injury, it just boosts up. It not boosts. It just leaves a whole detriment in that O-line. Should fly. 7 total sacks that Daniel Jones had. So he really couldn't get anything going. The rush attack wasn't there. The defense wasn't there as well. This was a really close battle towards the second half, but not necessarily. The Eagles started picking it up with, again, Saquon Barkley here. So obviously your pick with him for being offensive player of the year is looking a little bit better now.
Well, it's looking better, but obviously, that dip down the stretch, that might hurt me little by little. And I mean, we see the Derrick Henry show that we've been putting on that we're going to get into in a little bit. Might have to pump some brakes on that. But let's get into my Rams, the Raiders, and the Rams at SoFi a couple of days ago. And I mean, hey, seeing the Rams get back in the win column off the bye week, that's definitely, the most important thing for here. And key takeaway, the Chris Shula defense is, really starting to step up. Definitely really excited. Kobe Durant, someone that, how many times have I been saying, someone that I expect to start stepping up. Definitely showing those flashes, obviously an interception, a forced fumble, just really, doing it all in this game. And Jay McCullough getting back-to-back games with an interception. Had no idea who he was going into this season, but, he's definitely making a name for himself. And, Killer Witherspoon and Cam Curl, two guys that I've been very critical about, definitely, stepping up when it mattered. Killer had a really important third down stop on, I want to say, in the fourth quarter, and Cam Curl taking that fumble back for the touchdown. But I mean, obviously on the other side of the ball, offensively didn't look that good. I mean, O-line didn't help Stafford, but Stafford definitely made his own mistakes. And the one bright spot, got to say, Kyren Williams getting in the end zone twice, continues that streak up to 9 games consecutively with a touchdown. So, gonna ride him as much as we can. We get Cooper Kupp back this week, expected him this game. Now we're finally getting him into the Thursday nighter. Activate the practice window for Puka Nacua, so we'll wait and see when he gets back in. Obviously, this team's definitely getting healthier day by day. And look, for the Raiders, the quarterback play continues to be the issue. Obviously, we see Aiden O'Connell not much improved from last week, and going down with the injury, he's going to go on IR. Gardner Minshew came back in and not much better, just ugly play overall. And, my biggest concern with them, obviously came on a good side for the Rams, but to go for a field goal down 8 with 3 minutes to go definitely shows a lack of trust in this offense. And, obviously just doesn't make any sense. I know the false start took them back to the 9, but you really needed those points.
Yeah, obviously, look, it's the same thing with the Raiders. Everybody gets going to be the quarterback play. That's pretty much put in the season to win it here. And after this, it's pretty much the nail biter on this one. And now moving on with the blowout with the Commanders and the Panthers here. Obviously, Jaden Daniels, he went out of the game with a rib injury. So it is still, I believe, it's day to day or week to week to see his status on that. His mom did confirm during the game that he is doing good. So that's a really good sign to see. But let's talk about Marcus Mariota, man. He had himself a day, 18 completions for 23 pass attempts, 205 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He looked good in the pocket as well. His line only sacked him. I mean, he was only sacked 1 time for 4 yards. But after that sack, it was pretty much just Mariota, and he looked very good in the pass game. He was looking pretty much like his rookie self in his time with the time he was with Tennessee. And obviously, it's nice to see a lot of people, they love Mariota. It's just one of those what could have been if he was developed good. And it was nice to see him finally get a win for this Commanders team with the absence of Jaden Daniels getting out here. The rush attack, we also got to talk about the run game for the Panthers that obviously did help a bit. And beat Rob going for 71 at a touchdown, so it's finally looking good for him on the run game as well. And then Terry McLaurin getting accumulated in the pass game, finally having 2 decent quarterbacks now, throwing him the ball and finally getting him active, so solidifying as the top receiver in the league here. It was just nice to see all around. It was a nice offensive, defensive, strategic play calling for this Commanders team, and it was a really nice thing for Mariota. As for the Panthers, Andy Dalton, like I said here, that 1 win, I wanted to keep it aside to see how he's going to be the next of another inconsistency, and I was right. This offense wasn't going, this defense wasn't going. It was just a straight blowout for the Commanders. Basically, just I pretty much explained everything. Nothing much to say about that. But just a little Andy Dalton was was in a car crash. He did see he was fine here. So again, it's going to be difficult to see how he's going to be for this upcoming game.
Well, it was confirmed that he's going to be fine, just minor car wreck. But yeah, obviously, regardless, prayers to him. Hopefully, nothing ended up coming of that. But yeah, and before we move on, I mean, on the Commanders' side, Dante Fowler Jr. having that nice run back for the touchdown, definitely someone that would be nice to see if the Cowboys still would have had a guy like him on that roster. But
I wonder, man. I wonder.
I had to throw that in. But I'll move it into Super Bowl rematch, the Chiefs and the Niners, and the score looks like it was quite a slugfest, but let's be honest, it was anything but an ugly game, ugly quarterback play. To see, once again, Pat Mahomes just continues to struggle, hasn't found his rhythm going into the season. 2 interceptions, not even getting a passing touchdown, under 155 yards. Just weird, just rough quarterback play for the Chiefs. And it's just crazy to think, the Chiefs are 6-0 and, Mahomes has looked ugly. The offense in general has looked ugly. How is this team going to look once they actually start kicking it into gear? And so I'm obviously, the Super Bowl champs just definitely, a lot to be scared of to looking moving forward. But for as the 49ers, I think that's the bigger story to talk about. So much to get into. Obviously, Brandon Ayuk out for the season with a torn ACL. Deebo Samuel, as much as he looked out of shape that we can get into with that, came down with pneumonia and liquid in his lungs. So he's going to be out at least a couple weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And, just getting into the game overall, Brock Purdy struggling, 3 interceptions, just, ugly overall. The Niners, hampered with injuries. It's obviously, some rough play in this game. Definitely, obviously, a matchup that you're looking forward to next week. Is this going to be something that you guys can take advantage of, or is this going to be a wake-up call for the 49ers?
We're going to have to see right then and there. But like I said, they just saw I'm going to play the Cowboys next week. And I mentioned it before. Watch Brock Purdy throw for 4 touchdowns. And I'm not going to be ready for that. And now closing in with the Sunday slate with the Sunday night. The Jets and the Steelers. Devontae ended up playing this game. And let's just say he put up a shitter. This was just all Steelers game. It was nice to see Russell Wilson. Thank God Russell Wilson having the game as first start. The pass game was looking very, very good. Pickens was finally making plays. I could see how happy it was. Same with Najee. The run game was also great with Najee, but specifically want to talk about Pickens. I know if I said I have a love-hate relationship with George Pickens here, but the way he was getting the ball right in his hands, the way Wilson was targeting him most of this game here and just making a lot of plays, that's what you want to see in your receiver one. And I mentioned it before, even though I've said myself about Pickens, I mentioned it before. Pickens is literally just a competent quarterback away from solidifying himself as a top receiver in the league here, and they really proved it against a really good Jets defense there. And Rodgers, once again, the struggles continue. You got Devontae, the receiving core is there with him and Lazard, right? But you're just not making up for it, right? And then with Salah getting fired, we thought this could be the end here, and it's looking like it. Maybe it wasn't Salah's fault, maybe it was. He put a lot of nerves in there, but you're 2-5, and we mentioned it in the offseason before here. This is going to prove for Rodgers, the team around him with that defense that's built all around him, they're gonna have to make it somewhere this season. You guys they're 2-5, right? And I said in the pregame shit, I don't expect the Jets to go far at all in the season here, and this game really proved it to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just showing that catering to Rodgers might not be, the smartest thing. Probably gonna have to, shift the focus moving forward. But we'll move it into Monday night, and of course, Christian, your favorite. We got a Monday night doubleheader, and kick it off with the other game of the week with the Ravens and the Buccaneers. Another disagreement. I got to get the 2-0 on you in this one once again, something we'll get into in just a little bit. But overall. The Bucs came out firing in this one. I believe they had that 10-0 lead to start, and they were driving again. Looked like they were Looked like they were going to go up 10 again with Mike Evans, and with that injury, that re-aggravating that hamstring injury, and then right after that, Marlon Humphrey getting an interception, which he ended up with 2 before he left with an injury as well. Right after that, everything kind of just shut down for the Buccaneers. Chris Godwin wasn't enough throughout the game. The Bucs offense just did not look the same without Mike Evans, and like I said, from there on it was all Ravens. Lamar really picking apart the Bucs secondary when themselves having quite a bunch of busted coverages throughout the game, and then obviously the run defense possibly worse. Derrick Henry just feasting on them, and just looking at the Bucs. Sure, they started picking away, made it a 10-point game down the stretch through garbage time, but just overall a rough loss for them, not even because of the score, but just the losses. Obviously, I mentioned Mike Evans. Then we got Chris Godwin with that really ugly injury that it looks like it might not be as ugly as it looked on screen. It looks like it might just be a dislocation of the ankle, but regardless, the Bucs may be out their best two receivers for an extended period of time. I know we were talking about, is Sterling Shepard going to have to step up, Trey Palmer, any of those guys, but, didn't look like they were throughout this game. We're going to have to see if that changes moving forward.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a huge loss for the Buccaneers and see how the season's going to play out. Unfortunately, this might come to the end of Mike Evans' 1,000-yard streak since he's entered the league. Unfortunately there, but that's aside. Two big losses for this Bucs offense, and it's going to really play a huge part moving forward, especially with how tight this NFC is getting. And closing it out with the final game, the Chargers and the Cardinals, and this was a really close game here, specifically with the Chargers here. Their offense, they were driving, and this is the one thing with the Chargers that happens in the red zone. They don't finish drives, right? Dicker, the kicker, I mean, come on. This was his whole offense. I mean, he was perfect on field goals. I think he went, I believe it was 5 for 5 on field goals, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he went 5 for 5, and his offense wasn't going to get on, and it looked like, the field goals were kind of helping them there, but the way the Cardinals were going on the run game, on the pass attack, the way Kyler was getting active in the pocket, those field goals weren't going to cut it, and that's the thing with Herbert. This offense, and then obviously JK, he had a pretty slow game. Don't get me wrong. Didn't sell me on fantasy. Thank God I won that because of him. But it was a pretty slow on the run game. Herbert could have, he did all he could on the pass attack here. Some of the play calls, they were a little iffy there. But once again, like I mentioned, the field goals, too many field goals. The offense wasn't finishing. This defense was letting up a lot of plays here. Some turnovers here and there on both sides of the ball, which is, some good sign for both defenses there. But the Cardinals, they took advantage of those field goals and they drove down with the offense with Kyler getting going on the ground. That one big gainer on the rush, on the run. Excuse me, throwing my words here. Yeah. The rush touchdown, which, was a pretty big margin that pretty much solidified the end there. It's really good for the Cardinals. And Kyler and James Conner as well. Cannot forget him. He's really a big piece in this win today here. But Chargers are 3-3. They really got to get going with this offense. They had to finish drives. These field goals, it's not going to cut it with these teams they're going to have to go with in facing this next couple games of the schedule.
Yeah, obviously Cardinals really picking it back up. Definitely a good look for them. Kyler Murray, is he going to really start picking up that comeback player of the year take that you had? But yeah, just a phenomenal game for them. But obviously that wraps up the games. Close this out with, our picks. Christian at 2-0 once again. Regardless, good week for the both of us. 13-2, 11-4, up to 13-5 when on our disagreements. So, really starting to pull away. I think this is the farthest apart we've been. See if you could start picking it back up going into week 8. But that's going to do it for us for this week. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you like and subscribe. And we'll see you right back on Thursday for Bean Talk.